The stars had never looked so cold. Captain Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Horizon's Edge, staring at the massive alien ship that had just appeared in front of them. It was 3 times the size of his own ship, covered in dark armor that looked like it could withstand a nuclear blast. Strange symbols glowed along its hull. "Sir, they're trying to communicate," said his communications officer, her voice shaking slightly. Jinwoo nodded. "Open the channel." The screen flickered to life, showing a creature that made everyone on the bridge go silent. It stood over 7 feet tall, with 4 arms ending in claws that could tear through steel. Its exoskeleton was black and shiny like a beetle, but its eyes glowed with an intelligence that was unmistakably sentient. When it spoke, the translation software turned its clicking sounds into words. "I am Commander Vexith of the Kravik Empire. You have entered claimed space. State your species and origin." Jinwoo straightened his uniform. "I am Captain Jinwoo of Earth. We come in peace, seeking to make contact with other civilizations." The alien made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. "Earth, never heard of it. But you have achieved faster-than-light travel, which is impressive for a new species. You will follow us to the Galactic Council. They will decide your fate." It wasn't really a request. Jinwoo knew when he was outgunned. "We'll follow." 3 weeks later, Ambassadors Hana and Taeyang stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council. The room was enormous, with a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. 7 platforms surrounded them, each holding representatives from different alien species. All of them looked dangerous. The Kravik sat on one platform, their insectoid forms perfectly still. The Thornax occupied another, creatures that looked like they were carved from living crystal, sharp edges catching the light. The Vuldrine were there too, reptilian beings with scales that dripped acid. Each species radiated power and confidence. Hana clutched her data tablet tighter. She had prepared for this moment for months, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality. These were not beings who negotiated as equals. They were predators deciding if humanity was prey or something more interesting. "Speak," commanded the council leader, a Kravik twice the size of Commander Vexith. "Tell us about your homeworld." Taeyang stepped forward, his voice steady despite his fear. "Earth is located in the outer spiral of our galaxy. It has a gravity of 1 g, an oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, and abundant water. Our population is 8 billion, spread across 7 continents." The council members listened in silence as Hana displayed images and data about Earth. Beautiful mountains, deep oceans, forests, and deserts, cities filled with humans going about their daily lives. It all looked so peaceful, so gentle. When they finished, the council members began to talk among themselves. Their languages mixed together into a confusing noise, but the translation software worked over time. Hana could hear fragments of their conversation. Weak gravity, no extreme temperatures, primitive weapons. Finally, the council leader raised a claw for silence. A new alien stepped forward, wearing what looked like a scientist's robe. Its 3 eyes studied the data carefully. By the standards of the Galactic Council, Earth is classified as a Class 2 soft world. Pleasant climate, gentle environment, no serious evolutionary pressures. Your species evolved in comfort, not in hardship. "You are not Deathworlders." Hana felt her stomach drop. "What does that mean for us?" The council leader leaned forward. "It means humanity will be granted provisional membership under the protection of the Kravik Empire. You will provide resources, technology, and workers for our colonies. In exchange, we will defend you from hostile species and guide your development. You want us to become your servants," Taeyang said quietly. "We prefer the term tributary species," the Kravik leader replied. "But yes, this is how the galaxy works. The strong protect the weak serve the strong. It has been this way for 10,000 cycles." Hana looked at Taeyang. They both knew what this meant. Slavery, dressed up in diplomatic language. Earth would lose its freedom before it even got to explore the stars. "We need time to consult with our government," Hana said. The council leader waved a claw. "You have 72 standard hours. Use them wisely." That evening, young pilot Minho found himself in one of the station's recreation areas. He was supposed to be resting, but his mind was too active. Everything he had seen today changed his understanding of the universe. Humans weren't special. They were weak newcomers in a galaxy ruled by monsters. "You look troubled, small one." Minho turned to see a Thornax warrior standing beside him. Up close, the crystalline being was even more impressive. Light refracted through its body, creating rainbow patterns, but its eyes were kind. "I am Brecht," the Thornax said. "I saw you with the human delegation. This is your first time seeing the council?" "Yes," Minho admitted. "It's overwhelming." Brecht made a sound like wind chimes. Laughter, maybe. "I remember my first time. I was terrified. But you must understand the council is not cruel. This is simply how things are. Deathworld species dominate because we earned it through suffering. What makes a deathworld?" Minho asked. Brecht settled onto a bench that groaned under its weight. "High gravity, extreme temperatures, dangerous predators, toxic atmospheres. My homeworld has gravity twice what your Earth has. The temperature swings from freezing to boiling every day. I was forged in crystal caves where one wrong step meant death. The Kravik evolved in jungles where everything tried to kill them. The Voldrene grew up dodging acid rain. We are strong because we had to be. And Earth? Earth is a paradise world. Gentle, comfortable. Your species never had to fight for every breath, every meal, every moment of life. This is not an insult. It is simply fact. Some worlds create warriors. Others create artists and dreamers. Minho thought about Earth's history. The wars, the struggles, the constant competition. But he said nothing. Maybe Brecht was right. Maybe humans were weak compared to these galactic giants. "What happens if we refuse the Council's offer?" Minho asked. Brecht's crystalline face grew serious. "That would be unwise. Species who refuse protection usually face worse fates. Pirates, slavers, hostile empires. The galaxy is not kind to the defenseless. So we have no choice." "There is always a choice," Brecht said. "But some choices are wiser than others. Accept the Council's offer. Serve for a few generations. Prove your worth. Perhaps one day Earth will earn true membership." Minho thanked Brecht and left. But as he walked through the station's corridors, past alien species of all shapes and sizes, he couldn't shake a strange feeling. The Council had judged Earth based on data and numbers, but they had never actually visited. They had never walked through Earth's cities, climbed its mountains, or swam in its oceans. They didn't really know humanity at all. Back on Earth, the Unified Command received the Council's offer. Admiral Suman read the terms carefully, her face expressionless. Around the conference table, representatives from every nation sat in tense silence. "So this is it," the Chinese delegate said. "We reached the stars only to become slaves." "Not slaves," the American representative corrected. "Tributaries. There's a difference." "Is there?" Admiral Suman asked quietly. She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the sun was setting over Seoul. Millions of people lived their lives unaware that everything was about to change. Earth's future would be decided in the next 72 hours. "Get me every piece of data we have on these Deathworld species," Admiral Suman ordered. "Their biology, their history, their military capabilities, everything." "Why?" asked the European Union delegate. "What difference will it make?" Admiral Suman smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "Because before I recommend we accept slavery, I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. And maybe, just maybe, we'll find that the Council made a mistake when they judged us." The delegates looked confused, but they obeyed. Data began flowing in from every intelligence agency on Earth, and as the hours passed, a picture began to form. A picture that would change everything. The Council thought they knew what humanity was. They were about to learn they were very, very wrong. The command center deep beneath Seoul buzzed with activity. Scientists, military officials, and diplomats crowded around holographic displays showing data about the 7 Deathworld species. Admiral Suman stood at the center, her eyes scanning through reports that had been compiled over the past 48 hours. "Show me the Kravik analysis again," she ordered. Dr. Hyunwoo, Earth's leading xenobiologist, pulled up the files. The Kravik evolved on Kravik's Prime, a jungle world with high humidity and moderate gravity. Their ancestors were ambush predators, hiding in trees and striking at prey from above. They're incredibly strong and their exoskeletons can withstand extreme impacts. "What's their weakness?" Admiral Suman asked. Dr. Hyunwoo hesitated. "That's the thing, Admiral. Kravik's Prime has half the biodiversity of Earth. The Kravik evolved in an environment with fewer predators, fewer diseases, and more predictable seasons. They're strong, but they've never faced truly complex threats. Their military tactics are straightforward: overwhelming force and honor-based combat." "Honor-based combat?" President Yuna had just entered the room, her security team following close behind. Dr. Hyunwoo bowed respectfully. Yes, Madam President. From what we can tell, all 7 Deathworld species follow similar combat traditions. Challenges are issued, rules are agreed upon, battles are fought with witnesses. The winner is determined and the loser submits. They have wars, but they're ritualized, almost ceremonial. Admiral Suman pulled up another display. The Thornax are even more interesting. They come from a high-gravity world, yes, but it has no seasonal variation, no ice ages, no climate shifts. The Thornax have incredible physical strength, but they've never had to adapt quickly. Their evolution was slow and steady. What about the Vuldrine? President Yuna asked. Pack hunters, Dr. Hyunwoo explained. Very efficient at working together, but their strategies are instinctual, not learned. They don't innovate, they do what has always worked for them. President Yuna walked slowly around the holographic displays, studying each alien species. So what you're telling me is that these apex predators have never faced a real war. Not the way we understand war, Admiral Suman confirmed. They've never fought an enemy that uses deception, psychological warfare, or total strategic thinking. They fight for honor and dominance. We fight to win. Dr. Hyunwoo brought up a new display, this one showing Earth. But it wasn't the peaceful planet the Council had seen. This was Earth's true history laid bare. 500 million years ago, life exploded on our planet. Since then, Earth has suffered 5 mass extinctions, events that killed up to 90% of all species. And every time, life came back stronger and more diverse. The competition on Earth is unlike anything these Deathworld species have experienced. The display showed predators and prey from Earth's history, not just the big ones like dinosaurs and saber-toothed tigers, but the small ones. Parasites that could control their hosts' minds, bacteria that could survive in boiling water or frozen ice, plants that could poison entire ecosystems. Earth isn't just harsh, Dr. Hyunwoo continued. It's relentlessly creative in trying to kill you. And humans evolved at the center of this battlefield. Admiral Suman pulled up footage of human history. Wars stretching back thousands of years, empires rising and falling, weapons growing more sophisticated with each generation. The room grew quiet as everyone watched humanity's bloody legacy. The Kravik think they're warriors because they're strong, Admiral Suman said, but humanity spent 10,000 years fighting ourselves. We developed strategy, tactics, logistics, intelligence gathering, propaganda, and every other aspect of warfare. While the Deathworlders were having honorable duels, we were perfecting the art of total war. President Yuna turned away from the displays. This doesn't make me proud of our species. It shouldn't, Admiral Suman agreed, but it does give us an option. The Council judged us on our environment. They never asked about our nature. Dr. Hyunwoo brought up the final presentation. Madam President, I need to show you something about human biology that the Council missed. The display showed a human body, with various systems highlighted. We're not the strongest species. We're not the fastest. But we have something unique, unmatched endurance and adaptability. Human persistence hunting is legendary. Our ancestors would chase animals for days until they collapsed from exhaustion. No other Earth predator could match us. We also adapt faster than any species we've studied, Dr. Hyunwoo continued. Our immune systems learn from every threat. Our bodies can adjust to extreme temperatures within weeks. Our brains can learn new skills throughout our entire lives. The Kravik are born knowing how to fight. Humans have to learn everything. But that means we can learn anything. The display showed humans in every environment on Earth. Ice fields at the poles, scorching deserts at the equator, deep underwater, high in the mountains, dense jungles, open plains. Humans had conquered them all. The Council thinks Earth is a paradise, Dr. Hyunwoo said, but Earth has temperature swings of over 150 degrees from pole to equator. We have hurricanes that generate more energy than nuclear bombs. We have earthquakes that can level cities. We have volcanoes that can trigger global cooling. And we survived all of it. President Yuna absorbed all of this in silence. Finally, she spoke. Admiral, what are you proposing? Admiral Suman straightened. The Council offered us a trial if we wanted to challenge their decision. They're so confident in their superiority that they'll let us attempt the gauntlet of proving. It's a series of physical and combat trials. No soft-world species has ever demanded one, so they'll accept. And you think we can win? I think we can surprise them, Admiral Suman said. The Council has never seen what humans are capable of because they've never pushed us. They look at our peaceful planet and think we're weak. They don't understand that we're peaceful because we chose to be, not because we had to be. President Yuna looked at the faces around the room. Scientists, soldiers, diplomats. All of them waiting for her decision. If we do this and lose, they'll make an example of us. The terms of our servitude will be even harsher. If we accept without fighting, we lose our spirit, Admiral Suman countered. We become a species of servants before we ever get to be explorers. Our children will grow up as second-class citizens in a galaxy we should have inherited. The room was silent for a long moment. President Yuna walked to the window and looked out at Seoul. Millions of lights twinkled in the darkness. Each one represented people living their lives, dreaming their dreams, hoping for a better future. Prepare our representatives, President Yuna said quietly. We'll take the trial. But we don't just want to compete. We want to win. Show these Deathworlders what a real Deathworld species looks like. Admiral Suman smiled. Yes, Madam President. 3 days later, Ambassadors Hana and Taiyang returned to the Galactic Council. The chamber was packed with representatives from dozens of species, all curious about the soft-world species that had requested more time. The Kravik leader looked down at them with something like amusement. Have you reached a decision? Hana stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. The people of Earth have considered your generous offer of protection. However, we believe there has been a misunderstanding about our world's classification. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The council leader's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. You dispute our scientists' findings? We dispute your interpretation, Taiyang said. Earth may look gentle compared to your homeworlds, but appearances can be deceiving. We request the right to undergo the gauntlet of proving. If we pass your trials, we ask to be reclassified as a Deathworld species with full council membership. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens spoke in a dozen languages, their translations overlapping. The council leader raised a claw for silence. This is unprecedented, the Kravik leader said. No soft-world species has ever demanded trial by combat. You understand what you're asking? The gauntlet tests strength, endurance, and combat ability. It is designed to push Deathworlders to their limits. A soft-world species would not survive. Then we have nothing to lose, Hana said calmly. If we're as weak as you believe, the trials will prove it. But if we succeed, you'll have to admit that you misjudged us. The council members conferred among themselves. Finally, the Kravik leader turned back to the humans. Very well. Your request is granted. The gauntlet will begin in 1 standard month. May your gods have mercy on you because the trials will not. Hana and Taiyang bowed and left the chamber. Once they were safely back on their ship, Hana allowed herself to shake slightly. Did we just make the biggest mistake in human history? Taiyang looked out at the stars. We made the only choice that lets us keep our dignity. Now we have to prove we deserve it. Back on Earth, the real work began. Selecting champions. Training for trials no one fully understood. Preparing for a test that could determine humanity's fate among the stars. The council thought they knew what they would see. They were wrong. Vrakesh charged like a freight train, all 4 arms extended, claws gleaming in the arena lights. The crowd roared its approval. This was how Deathworld combat was supposed to look. Raw power, primal fury, strength against strength. Junho didn't charge back. He stepped to the side at the last possible second, letting Vrakesh's momentum carry him past. As the Kravik stumbled, Junho struck. Not a punch, but a precise palm strike to a nerve cluster on Vrakesh's lower back. The big alien's left leg buckled slightly. Vrakesh spun, confused. The hit had barely hurt, but something felt wrong. He charged again, this time more cautiously. The 2 fighters met in the center of the arena. Vrakesh threw a combination of strikes that would have shattered stone. Junho blocked, deflected, and redirected. He wasn't trying to overpower the Kravik. He was studying him. Fight back, coward. Vrakesh roared. Junho said nothing. He watched Vrakesh's eyes, his stance, the way his exoskeleton plates moved when he punched. Every movement gave information. Every attack revealed patterns. Vrakesh grew frustrated. He increased his aggression, throwing wild haymakers. Junho ducked under one, stepped inside another, and struck Vrakesh's elbow joint. Not with a fist, but with his knuckles targeting the gap between armor plates. Something clicked. Vrakesh's right arm went partially numb. The crowd's cheering became confused. This wasn't normal combat. The human wasn't fighting with honor. He was fighting like an assassin, targeting weak points instead of matching strength with strength. Vrakesh lunged forward with all 4 arms, trying to grapple. If he could get the small human in a hold, this would be over. But Junho dropped low, sweeping Virkesh's legs. As the massive Kravik fell forward, Junho moved behind him. His hands found specific points on Virkesh's exoskeleton. Joints, nerve clusters, weak spots. In 14 seconds, it was over. Virkesh's primary arms were dislocated. Pressure point strikes had induced partial neural shock. The mighty champion lay on the sand, unable to move, his body betrayed by techniques he didn't understand. Junho stepped back and bowed to his fallen opponent. "You fought with great honor," he said quietly. Then he walked off the arena floor. The silence was deafening. Then the arena exploded into chaos. The council convened an emergency session. The chamber was filled with angry voices, all speaking at once. Ambassador Hana and Taiyang stood in the center, surrounded by furious alien representatives. "This is an outrage," the Kravik leader thundered. "Your warrior used treachery. He attacked weak points, used pressure points, employed dishonorable techniques." Hana kept her voice calm, though her heart was racing. "Commander Junho used standard human military hand-to-hand combat. These are techniques taught to every soldier on Earth. There was no treachery. He didn't fight with strength," a Thornax representative shouted. "He used tricks." "He used skill," Taiyang corrected. "On Earth, we learned long ago that the strongest fighter doesn't always win. The smartest fighter does. Adaptation and tactical thinking are survival requirements on our world." The council leader's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. "The trials are meant to test raw capability. Strength, endurance, combat prowess. Your species has twisted them into something else. Something dishonorable." "With respect," Hana said, "we completed your trials according to your rules. We never broke any regulation. If our methods upset you, perhaps your trials don't test what you think they test." "Enough." The council leader stood, his massive form intimidating. "The trials are hereby declared null. Humanity will not be granted Deathworld status. You will accept our original offer of tributary membership, or you will be quarantined in your system until you learn proper respect." Taiyang stepped forward. "Quarantine? You would imprison an entire species because we embarrassed you? We would protect the galaxy from a species that fights without honor," the council leader said coldly. "This is our final decision." Hana and Taiyang looked at each other. They had anticipated this possibility. Earth had prepared for this moment. Hana touched her communication device. "Please connect me to Admiral Suman." A holographic display appeared in the center of the council chamber. Admiral Suman stood in Earth's command center, President Yuna beside her. Behind them, displays showed military readiness status across the entire human fleet. "Council members," Admiral Suman said, her voice formal and cold, "I am here to present additional information about Earth's classification. Since you seem to have difficulty accepting our combat results, let me show you raw data." The chamber's main display flickered to life. It showed Earth from space, but not the gentle blue marble the Council had seen before. This was Earth in its full, terrifying glory. "This is Hurricane Katrina," Admiral Suman narrated as the display showed a massive storm system. Wind speeds over 300 kilometers per hour. Energy release equivalent to a nuclear explosion every 20 minutes. These storms occur regularly on Earth. Your Thornax homeworld has never experienced anything like it. Such a storm would shatter your crystal structures. The display changed to show temperature readings. Earth's temperature ranges from -90 degrees Celsius at the poles to +58 degrees in the deserts. A variation of 150 degrees across a single planet. Your Kravik homeworld varies by 20 degrees. Your species would die of thermal shock on Earth. More images appeared. The Mariana Trench, deeper than any Deathworld ocean. Mount Everest, taller than most Deathworld mountains. The Amazon rainforest, containing more species than some entire Deathworld planets. 500 million years of intense evolutionary competition. Admiral Suman continued. 5 mass extinction events that wiped out most life on the planet. And every time life came back stronger. Earth doesn't just have predators. It has super predators, apex predators, and predators that hunt other predators. The competition on Earth is unmatched in the galaxy. The council members watched in growing unease. The data was irrefutable. By every objective measure, temperature range, atmospheric volatility, gravitational variation, biodiversity, tectonic activity, Earth rated higher than any council member's homeworld. Dr. Hyunwoo appeared on the display. "I am Earth's lead xenobiologist. I have reviewed your classification system. By your own metrics, Earth should be rated as a Class 7 death world. The oxygen content alone should have been a warning. At sea level on Earth, the oxygen partial pressure is actually toxic to most council species. You breathe our atmosphere diluted through filters. We breathe it naturally. The Council's exobiologist supreme checked the calculations live, his 3 eyes widening with each confirmation. The measurements? We made an error. The atmospheric readings were taken at high altitude. The surface pressure is... This can't be right. It's right, Dr. Hyunwoo said. You classified Earth as a paradise world because it looked peaceful in our pictures. You never actually visited. You never walked on our surface, breathed our air, or experienced our environment. You judged us by appearance, not reality. The council leader sat down heavily. If this is true, your species evolved on one of the harshest worlds we've documented, but your behavior is exactly what you'd expect from a death world species. President Yuna interrupted, speaking for the first time.
We adapted to survive on a planet that was constantly trying to kill us.
We developed intelligence as our primary weapon. We learned to outthink, outadapt, and outlast anything our world threw at us. And yes, we learned to fight, not with honor and ritual, but to win. Because on Earth, losing meant extinction. The council chamber was silent. Every member was recalculating their understanding of humanity. They weren't dealing with soft paradise worlders. They were dealing with survivors of one of the most hostile planets in the galaxy. So you see, President Yuna continued, your quarantine threat is meaningless. You can't imprison a species that evolved in a prison. And your tributary offer? We reject it. We have proven our worth by your own trials. We demand full council membership with equal status. The council leader's mandibles clicked slowly. And if we refuse? Then you declare war on Earth, Admiral Suman said simply. And I must warn you, you have no idea what you're starting. Your species fight for honor and territory. Humans fight to survive. There is no concept in your cultures for what we call total war, but you're about to learn. You threaten us? The Voldrene representative hissed. 1 species against 7 council powers? I don't threaten, Admiral Suman replied. I inform. Look at your own data. Look at what we accomplished in your trials. Now imagine what we're capable of when we're not following your rules, when we're not being honorable, when we're fighting the way we fought each other for 10,000 years. Taeyang stepped forward. We came to the stars hoping to find friends. We found potential masters instead. We offered respect and received contempt. We proved ourselves by your standards and you moved the goalposts. So now we give you a choice. Accept us as equals, or learn what humans do when they have no other options. The council leader looked around the chamber at his fellow members. Every face showed uncertainty. They had miscalculated badly. This wasn't a species to be conquered. This was a species that might conquer them. We need time to deliberate, the council leader said finally. You have 72 hours, President Yuna said, throwing their own words back at them. The heat hit like a physical wall. Marine Jihoon stepped off the transport onto Kravik's Prime and immediately felt sweat pour down his back. The gravity was crushing, nearly twice what he was used to. Every movement felt like he was dragging weights. Around him, the arena stretched for 10 kilometers across razor-sharp rock formations. The sky was a sickly yellow and the air tasted like copper. Thousands of aliens filled the observation platforms, eager to watch the soft-world human fail. Welcome to the first trial, announced the Kravik overseer, his voice booming across the arena. The trial of strength. Each contestant will carry a 200-kilogram burden across this terrain. The first to complete the course wins honor for their species. Those who fail are eliminated. Jihoon looked at the massive stone block that would be his burden. It was rough and irregular, designed to be difficult to grip. He could see similar blocks waiting for the other contestants. The Kravik champion stepped forward first, a massive warrior named Drexith. He lifted his burden with all 4 arms and began to run. The crowd roared with approval. Despite the heat and gravity, Drexith moved quickly, his powerful legs carrying him over the rocks with ease. Next came the Thornax representative, a crystal being named Shardak. His body was already adapting to the heat, his crystalline structure refracting light to dissipate thermal energy. He lifted his burden and followed, moving with surprising grace. Then it was Jihoon's turn. He approached his burden carefully, studying it from all angles. The other contestants had simply picked up their blocks and started moving. But Jihoon had been trained in mountaineering and heavy load carrying. He knew that technique mattered more than raw strength. He positioned himself, gripped the stone at its balance points, and lifted. His legs screamed in protest. The gravity made everything feel like it weighed 5 times more than it should. But he had trained for this. 6 months of preparation in centrifuges and heavy gravity simulators. Ji-hoon started walking, not running like the others, walking at a steady, measured pace. He breathed in rhythm, controlling his heart rate. This was a marathon, not a sprint. The crowd jeered as he fell behind. The other contestants were already a kilometer ahead, but Ji-hoon ignored them. He focused on his breathing, his steps, his technique. 1 foot in front of the other. Keep the load balanced. Don't waste energy. At the 3-kilometer mark, Drexith was still in the lead. But Shardak was starting to slow. The heat was intense even for a Thornax, and the constant strain was creating microfractures in his crystalline structure. At 5 kilometers, Drexith began to struggle. He had started too fast, burning through his energy reserves. His forearms were shaking and his breathing was labored. Ji-hoon maintained his pace. His body was adapting to the conditions in real time. His heart rate had actually decreased since he started becoming more efficient. His muscles had found their rhythm. He was still in 3rd place, but the gap was closing. In the observation box, Brecht watched with growing fascination. He had pulled up Ji-hoon's biometric readings on his display. What he saw shouldn't have been possible. "Look at this," he said to his fellow Thornax warriors. "His body is optimizing itself during the trial. His heart rate should be increasing, but it's decreasing. His muscle efficiency is improving with every kilometer." "Impossible," one warrior said. "Bodies don't adapt that quickly." "Human bodies do," Brecht said quietly. At 8 kilometers, Drexith collapsed. The crowd gasped. Their champion had given everything, but it wasn't enough. Medical teams rushed to help him as Shardak took the lead. Ji-hoon kept walking. His legs were numb, his back was on fire, but his pace never changed. He had entered a meditative state, something his instructors called the zone. His conscious mind had stepped back, letting his body do what it was trained to do. At 9 kilometers, Shardak's crystal structure began to fail. Stress fractures had spread throughout his body. He pushed forward on pride alone, but every step caused him pain. Ji-hoon was close now, close enough to see the finish line, close enough to see Shardak struggling. The Thornax warrior was moving on determination alone, his body at its breaking point. The crowd had gone silent. The jeering had stopped. They were watching something unprecedented. A soft-world human keeping pace with Deathworld champions. In the final stretch, Shardak pushed everything he had. His body was failing, but he wouldn't quit. He crossed the finish line first, his burden still clutched in his arms. Then he collapsed, his crystal structure fracturing into dozens of pieces. Medical teams swarmed him immediately. Ji-hoon crossed the line 30 seconds later, 3rd place, but he was still standing. His burden was still on his shoulders, and when he set it down, he didn't collapse. He stood straight, breathing heavily, but in control. The crowd was silent. No soft-world species had ever completed the trial of strength. But Ji-hoon had done more than complete it. He had looked strong doing it. Back in the recovery chambers, Brecht approached Ji-hoon. "Your performance was remarkable." Ji-hoon, lying on a medical bed while doctors checked his vitals, managed a tired smile. "I came in 3rd. You completed a trial designed to break Deathworlders," Brecht said. "And your body's response is fascinating. May I see your medical data?" Ji-hoon nodded. Brecht studied the readings carefully. The more he looked, the more disturbed he became. Ji-hoon's body had treated the trial as a training exercise. His cardiovascular system had optimized itself. His muscle fibers had begun restructuring for better efficiency. His body wasn't just surviving the stress, it was learning from it. "This is how humans always respond to physical stress?" Brecht asked. "If we train properly, yes," Ji-hoon said. "We call it adaptation. Our bodies are designed to get stronger when pushed." Brecht said nothing, but his mind was racing. If humans could adapt this quickly, what else could they do? 2 weeks later, the 2nd trial began on Voldreen, the acid world homeworld of the reptilian hunters. Marine Nari stood in her environment suit, checking her weapons one last time. This trial was different. It wasn't about strength, but about endurance and hunting skills. The rules were simple. Cross 100 kilometers of methane storm terrain while hunting automated drones. The drones were programmed to evade and fight back. The contestant who eliminated the most drones and completed the course fastest would win. The Voldrene champion, a pack hunter named Salith, went first. She moved through the terrain with incredible grace, using pack tactics even though she was alone. Her instincts were perfect. She found drones hidden in the landscape and eliminated them with efficient strikes. She finished the course in 4 hours, having destroyed 18 drones. Other contestants followed, each using their species' natural advantages. The Kravik relied on strength and aggression. The Thornax used their sensor abilities to detect drones through obstacles. Then it was Nari's turn. She entered the course at a steady jog, her helmet display showing terrain maps and drone predictions. Unlike the other contestants, she didn't hunt the drones aggressively. Instead, she set traps. Using her environment suit's tools, she created false heat signatures that attracted drones. She collapsed rock formations to create choke points. She even hacked one drone's programming and used it as bait to attract others. The observation crowd watched in confusion. What was she doing? Why wasn't she hunting properly? 4 hours into the trial, Nari's strategy became clear. She had turned the course itself into one massive trap. Drones that had evaded other contestants now fell into carefully prepared ambushes. Some were crushed by falling rocks. Others were short-circuited by improvised electromagnetic pulses. One group of drones was led into a methane vent and incinerated. Nari crossed the finish line after 5 hours, slower than Salith. But her drone count was 23. She had eliminated more targets than any contestant in the trial's history. The crowd erupted in argument. Some called it cheating. Others called it brilliant. The judges conferred for hours before making their decision. The human contestant used unconventional tactics, the head judge announced. But she broke no rules. Second place is awarded to Marine Nari of Earth. In the observation box, the council's strategic advisors were having an emergency meeting. "Did you see what she did?" one asked. "She didn't hunt the drones. She made the environment hunt them. She was learning the entire time," another added. "Watch the replay." Early in the trial, she was testing different tactics. By the end, she had optimized everything. "These humans are adapting faster than any species we've documented," a third advisor said. "Between trials, they're not just recovering. They're improving." The council leader received their report with growing unease. 2 trials down and the humans had exceeded every expectation. They weren't winning, but they weren't supposed to be competing at all. "What about the third trial?" the leader asked. "Combat. Direct one-on-one combat. No tricks, no tactics. Just pure fighting ability." "Good," the leader said. "Let's see them adapt to that." But in the human preparation chambers, Commander Junho was already training. And he was smiling. Combat was where humanity truly excelled. The council was about to learn what 10,000 years of warfare had taught the human race. The arena for the third trial was massive, built for gladiatorial combat. Junho walked out onto the sand and looked up at the thousands of aliens watching him. The 72 hours passed. The council's answer came in the form of 3 battle fleets jumping into the Sol system. Over 500 warships, enough to conquer a dozen worlds. The message was clear: submit or be destroyed. Captain Jinwoo stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Edge, now retrofitted as a combat vessel. Around him, the entire human fleet had assembled, 200 ships total. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing species that had conquered the galaxy. "All ships. This is Admiral Suman. Execute Protocol Alpha. Make them work for every meter of space." The council fleets advanced in perfect formation, a wall of firepower that could level a planet. They expected Earth's forces to meet them in honorable combat, ship to ship like every other species did. Instead, the human fleet scattered. "What are they doing?" Commander Vexith demanded from his flagship. "Why aren't they forming battle lines?" "Unknown, Commander. They're hiding behind asteroids and debris." Vexith clicked his mandibles in disgust. "Cowards. Send forward scouts to flush them out." 20 Kravik ships advanced into the asteroid belt. They navigated carefully, searching for the human vessels. Then the first mine detonated. It wasn't a conventional explosive. It was a nuclear device hidden in a hollowed asteroid, triggered by proximity sensors. The explosion vaporized 3 ships instantly and disabled 5 more. Before the Kravik could react, more mines detonated throughout the belt. The humans had turned millions of space rocks into a massive minefield. "Pull back," Vexith ordered. "Reform at safe distance." But as the council ships retreated, human vessels appeared from behind larger asteroids. fast, small attack craft led by Captain Jinwoo. They fired missiles and kinetic rounds, then disappeared back into the debris field before the heavy council ships could target them. "This is dishonorable," Vexith roared. "They hide and strike from ambush like prey animals." On Earth, Admiral Suman watched the battle unfold. "They still don't understand. We're not fighting for honor. We're fighting to win. Lieutenant Minji, are you ready?" In a secure bunker in Seoul, Engineer Minji looked up from her computer screens. "Yes, Admiral. I've infiltrated their communications network. Ready to execute on your command." "Do it." Minji's fingers flew across her keyboard. The Council species had superior technology, but they had never faced cyber warfare. They had firewalls, but not against someone who understood that every system had weaknesses. Within minutes, she had access to the Kravik fleet's communications. False orders began to flow. Ships received commands to move to the wrong coordinates. Support vessels were told their ammunition shipments were delayed. Worst of all, Minji began broadcasting false sensor data, making Council ships see threats that didn't exist. The Kravik fleet descended into chaos. Ships fired at phantom targets. Formations broke apart. In the confusion, more human strike teams attacked, hitting vulnerable support vessels and supply ships. "What's happening?" Vexith demanded. "Why can't we coordinate?" "Someone has compromised our systems, Commander." "That's impossible. Our encryption is unbreakable." But it wasn't, because the Council had never fought an enemy that didn't follow the rules. 2 months into the war, the Council had lost over 200 ships without destroying a single human vessel. Their fleets were withdrawing, regrouping, trying to understand what they were facing. In the Council chambers, the 7 species gathered in emergency session. They were losing. Somehow, impossibly, they were losing to a single species that should have been easy to conquer. "They don't fight like any species we've encountered," the Thornax delegate said. "They use deception, ambush, psychological warfare. They target our supply lines instead of fighting our warriors. They hack our computers. They even use our own communications against us. They fight without honor," the Kravik leader growled. "But they fight effectively. We've lost more ships in 2 months than we've lost in the past century." "Perhaps," Brecht said quietly, "that's because we've never faced a true Deathworld species before." All eyes turned to him. "Explain," the Council leader demanded. Brecht stood, his crystalline form catching the light. "We call ourselves Deathworlders because we survived harsh planets. But what makes a death world? High gravity? Extreme temperatures? These are challenges, yes, but Earth had something else: competition. Constant, relentless, creative competition. Every species on Earth had to evolve new strategies just to survive, and humans were at the center of it." He pulled up displays showing Earth's history. "Look at their warfare. 10,000 years of continuous conflict. They developed strategy, logistics, intelligence networks, propaganda, psychological operations, while we were having honor duels. They were perfecting the art of total war. We fight to prove strength. They fight to survive, and there's nothing they won't do to survive." The chamber fell silent. The Council leader spoke slowly. "You're saying we can't beat them?" "I'm saying we've never faced an enemy like this," Brecht replied. "Every time we adapt to their tactics, they invent new ones. They learn faster than we do. They innovate faster than we do. And they're willing to do things we never imagined." As if to prove his point, alarms began blaring throughout the Council station. On the main display, a human fleet had appeared, not in Sol system, but here at the Council's headquarters. Marines Jihoon and Nari led the boarding teams. They had learned Council ship designs during the war, studied their layouts, identified their weaknesses. While the Council was focused on conquering Earth, humanity had gone on the offensive. The human commandos moved through the station like ghosts. They used breaching charges that the Council had never seen. They employed tactics that made no sense to species who fought in open combat. They took hostages, used human shields, and fought with a viciousness that shocked the defending forces. Within 4 hours, the commandos had planted explosives throughout the station's critical systems. They didn't detonate them. They simply proved they could. The message was clear: nowhere is safe. 8 months into the war, the Council was fracturing. The Voldrene had lost 30% of their fleet. The Thornax homeworld had been threatened by human ships that appeared, launched kinetic bombardments from long range, and vanished before defenses could respond. The Kravik were losing ships faster than they could build them, and Earth Earth had lost 15 ships, 15 out of their entire fleet. Admiral Suman prepared for the final move. The Luna Array, humanity's secret weapon. It was a massive orbital weapon system, built in secret over decades. It could launch relativistic projectiles, chunks of matter accelerated to near light speed, unstoppable, undetectable until impact. Planet killers. President Yuna gave the final authorization. It was time to end this. A galactic broadcast went out to every council world simultaneously. President Yuna appeared on every screen, her face calm but her eyes hard. People of the Galactic Council, this war has gone on long enough. You thought you could enslave humanity because we seemed weak. You were wrong. You thought you could defeat us because you were strong. You were wrong. You underestimated what a real Deathworld species is capable of. Behind her, the Luna Array powered up, visible to every council sensor in the galaxy. This is humanity's final offer. Withdraw all forces from Sol system. Recognize Earth as a full council member with equal status. Sign a non-aggression treaty, or we begin targeting your homeworlds, not your military installations. Your cities, your civilians, everything you love. The council chamber erupted in outrage and fear. This is genocide, someone shouted. This is war, President Yuna said coldly. Total war. The kind of war humans have fought against each other for millennia. You started this by trying to enslave us. We're willing to finish it. The choice is yours. Peace as equals, or war to extinction. The display showed targeting data for 3 council homeworlds. The projectiles were already loaded. Launch codes were entered. All that was needed was the final command. The council leader looked at his fellow delegates. He saw fear in every face. These species had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they had never faced extinction. They didn't know how to process this threat. You would actually do it, the leader said, not a question but a statement. You would exterminate billions to save yourselves. We would do whatever is necessary to survive, President Yuna said. That's what Deathworld species do. We don't fight for honor. We don't fight for glory. We fight because losing means death. And humans have spent their entire existence fighting death in every form it takes. Brecht stepped forward in the council chamber. I vote for peace. The other delegates turned to him in shock. You side with them? The Kravik leader demanded. I side with reality, Brecht said. We cannot win this war. Every day it continues, we lose more. The humans will keep adapting, keep innovating, keep finding new ways to hurt us. They're right. We don't understand total war. We've never had to. But they do. They're experts at it, and if we don't make peace now, they will destroy us. One by one, the other delegates began to agree. Some reluctantly, some fearfully, but all understanding the same truth. Humanity had proven they were more dangerous than any species the Council had ever faced. The vote was unanimous. The war was over. 2 weeks later, the treaty was signed aboard the human carrier Indomitable, a name the Council members found disturbingly appropriate.